He was in the dressing room with Snoop. He walks out of the dressing room like trying to sneak out, and he's like super high. And he closes the door and looks up, and there's Vince McMahon. And he goes, Snoop's in there. And he could not walk.
To run a show.
Stand up, man. When I got back into radio, and of course now that I'm married,
sure.
I just do the show, the clubs that I can drive to easy one day, Chattanooga, Birmingham, Nashville, all that good stuff. So I did it for a while, and man, I just ain't made to be a road dog. Those road dogs that are out there kicking it, that's a different breed, man. To do it 365, and I mean, I think the most I ever did one time was. I was getting close to 200 shows, and then I saw like one of the headlines, like Tim Wilson or something, and he did like 280 or something absurd, and you're like, boy, I can't add another 100. Like I was happy on my Mondays off. I can't imagine just nonstop. So once I morphed back into radios with the sports station that I got fired from the day I signed my lease on my apartment in Huntsville, they fired me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's how I ended up with the Rocket. I was like, ended up in Huntsville for the sports station, and my co-host Cole was like, hey, where you at? And I'm like, new apartment, come on over, check it out. And he's like, do what? And I was like, yeah, man, got the new apartment, just signed the year lease, baby. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to come to you. Hit me that address. He comes in, he's like, by the way, I got 2 patio chairs. That's my only, and an inflatable mattress. That's all I've moved in. And I'm like, hey, you like the crib? And he's like, we need to talk. Serious. Can I sit in that patio chair? I'm like, yeah. But you want to lay on the mattress right now? I told me I was fired, and I was like, well, this shit sucks.
That's the way radio goes, then.
Yeah, and I just, I'd also, to pile on, had just broke up with the girl I was dating for like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I was sitting on that patio chair going, well, life comes at you fast real quick.
He's like, I wonder if that ink's dried on
I was mad at her cheating on me, but boy, I could go back right now. She's got lights and stuff. She's got food.
Nice with patio furniture.
Yeah, she's got. Baby, I'm bringing. I got patio furniture. I don't care. Your new guy can sit on that. I don't care. But luckily for me, man, they were actually, Jimbo was looking for a co-host, and I literally missed one paycheck if I would have kept going. I missed one paycheck before I got hired in the Rocket.
So shit worked out, man. That's bad.
Yeah, because the sports station, off the radar, nobody really listens to it. And Rocket at the time was, they'd been around for, 15 years at that time.
Yeah.
So they're the big dogs. I somehow got fired. The story of my career is right place, right time.
Blessing in disguise.
Everything happens at the right place, right time. Luckily, you got to take advantage of it still, but that's Leno thing, radio, whatever. Radio. I happened to grew up with the sales manager when I first got into radio.
Yeah.
She ended up being the sales manager for Rick and Bubba, and she was like, man, when I got to college, she was like, you should come intern with Rick and Bubba. And I'm like, man, they're radio gods. I don't do radio. Right. She was like, you're funny enough. You just need to come intern. Like, it'll count as college credit, even if you go back. I was doing computer programming. Yeah. And I was like, awful at that. I thought, wait, we don't just sit on AOL Instant Messenger and talk back and forth? Like, what's code? So, I went and interned, and they hired me. And again, right place, right time. 6 months after my internship ended, they got moved to Birmingham. Ended up moving to Birmingham. They ended up going syndicated.
That's cool.
Everything just worked out perfect timing-wise. So.
You still hear from those guys occasionally?
Every now and then when somebody sends them a hate mail and says I was cussing too much at my comedy show. Really? They have been absolutely great to me.
Yeah.
100% great. The last time I had heavy interaction with them was I don't know how long it's been now, but they had a tour. They were celebrating their 20th anniversary tour. Yeah. And they did theaters and brought me in to roast them. And so
that's cool.
I would be the special guest, and I would come on stage, and I was like, man, they don't pay me anymore, so y'all about to hear the real stuff.
Yeah. They went crazy. crazy.
Yeah, I'll be like, man, Rick and Bubba, man, they're just like you guys. And the crowd's like, woo. I'm like, salt of the earth right here. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, every one of you sitting there and you're thinking every morning, man, these guys are just like me. And everybody's like, yeah. And I'm like, I mean, you know, even though they flew here in their private jet, besides that, they're just like you. Everyone's like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, they're just the highest paid morning show ever in the state of Alabama. But besides that, besides a $500,000, they're just like you.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, I know you paid $50 to get in here tonight to see them, but they're just like you, though. They're just like you.
Speaking of, how are those numbers, your numbers versus theirs in Huntsville?
We go back and forth, which we shouldn't. I mean, they're the big dogs.
Right.
I mean, the battle on radio in Huntsville is Rick and Bubba and the country station, which you should be able to flip the switch on and win at a country station in Alabama. And then the rock station, we shouldn't be there, but we either 1, 2, or 3 usually.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I'm supposed to say about ratings publicly,
Sure.
our bosses are very pleased.
That's
I
good.
mean, that's why we're here 10 years. So, yeah, so we're in a good spot. I'm very happy. I still get to do comedy.
Yeah.
Still dig around on my own podcast and do everything I wanted. I joined another podcast group and I got my own podcast, and then I host a podcast with a '90s wrestler. I don't know if anybody wrestling fans in here, but Road Dogg Jesse James from the DX back in the day. Me and him do a weekly podcast, and of course everybody remembers his lines. You didn't know?
No, I didn't know.
Your ass better call somebody. That was his catchline. He goes, if you don't like that, I got 2 words for you. Suck it. So, like, I mean, me telling my young self if I would have been doing a podcast with that guy, like, no chance. But
that's fucking cool, man.
Me and him do that. And then I do others for a wrestling network called Ad Free Shows. And so, like, in the past, since the beginning of December, I've did a show with Ric Flair, Jim Ross, Jeff Jarrett, Eric Bischoff. I mean, just lucky, man.
Man, those guys, cool. You thought Motley Crue were wild back in the day.
Yeah,
man,
dude.
These guys, there's a reason they drop in like
the wrestling guys?
Yeah.
No, they're maniacs.
God.
Maniacs.
They could run circles around Ozzy Osbourne.
My dude Road Dogg is clean and sober now for, I think, about 5 years. But I jokingly one day, I was like, man, if about 2014 which is when me and my buddy Conrad were just out of control in Huntsville.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, if we could have met you back then when you were not sober, he goes, we wouldn't be doing this podcast. We'd all 4 be dead, son.
Dead.
Dead.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I mean, he's got great stories about he's smoked with Snoop Dogg in the dressing room and the whole deal, like, and come out and wrestled afterwards.
Yeah.
Like he was in the dressing room with Snoop. He walks out of the dressing room like trying to sneak out, and he's like super high, and he closes the door and looks up, and there's Vince McMahon, and he goes, "Snoop's in there," and he cannot walk. I gotta go do a match, and like ran out.
You brought up Conrad, man. He's had a lot of success, man, with everything he's got going on.
He is, yeah. He started the wrestling podcast. He was a wrestling fan, a wrestling nerd. He's way bigger. I mean, I think all of us at some point watched wrestling, but he was big time nerd and made it a passion and was successful with his business and said, "Hey, I want to try to start something else with the podcast world." And I won't give away too much of his story, but his deal is he figured out I can do a podcast. And if the main sponsor is my mortgage company, I'm just doing a free commercial for myself.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then they all pop off, and he's getting a free commercial. But he's joined it. It's called Ad Free Shows, where everybody can get wrestling podcasts without commercials. And then he got into conventions. He does wrestling conventions called StarCast, where and then this past year, or 2022, he put on Ric Flair's last match up in Nashville, sold out the old Nashville Fairgrounds, and yeah, he did the whole thing.
Do they mainly follow 80s, 90s wrestlers, or do they? Yeah,
I mean, the cool thing is,
because the ones of today aren't like crazy like
dude,
that.
No, 80s and 90s wrestling, like, and I guess it changes with your demographic as you get older, but that was like the absolute golden era.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was.
Especially it's called the Attitude Era, which is the whole deal where they started getting a little away from the cartoon characters and went into just bad guys are cool, the NWO's cool, WCW's cool.
Undertaker riding a Harley to the stage.
They went into that whole deal. They figured out. But and now the funny part is after watching all that, Vince is a smart guy and everybody around him is smart. They realized, oh, well, if we don't have a PG rating, the kids can't watch.
That's right.
So he said, we're not going to do cartoon characters, but we need to bring out all the suckets and all that, the girls wrestling in lingerie. And it made it grow even more. People thought he was stupid, but it made it grow even more and bigger than ever. But the key with the wrestlers and you know, doing the conventions and seeing everybody out is everybody that's our age now, you got a little expendable income all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to go, you know, I'm in Gadsden. I didn't go get to see wrestling. But if you're telling me now I can go meet the Road Warriors or go meet, you know, Ric Flair or, hey, I can get my picture taken with whoever, Kurt Angle or Rey Mysterio, whatever the case would be. You got money now as an adult. And, hey, oh, my God, I can go spend it on wrestling? Hell yeah.
Man.
And then the podcast take off because none of us knew that they were partying and none of us knew anything about their private lives. So when they get a podcast and start telling about all their road stories, just like a band, you're like,
yeah, sure.
Hell yeah.
I'll tell you some of the coolest people. So it was when TNA first came out, you know, Jarrett's organization back early 2000s. They come and did a show in Huntsville, BBC.
The first TNA show ever was here.
Yep.
First TNA TV show was in Huntsville.
Scott Hall was there. Yep. Conan, Kevin Nash.
Watch your time.
Kevin Nash, but Kevin didn't wrestle that night. Scott did. And I don't remember, somebody else. But they were the coolest guys to just talk to.
Yeah.
So after the show, they weren't like super douchebaggy at all. And so we were out back because I was a huge wrestling fan, man. And went out there and they were just kind of hanging out and just walked up and smoked a cigarette. And we just shot the shit. And Scott, you know, rest in peace, man. He was just the coolest freaking human being to sit there and talk to. Like he actually, you know, appreciated it.
He wasn't giving you charity.
No, not at all, man. And just asking me, you know, hey man, where's the coolest bar? You know, like, we're just shooting the shit and super just cool people. And but you know, I wondered, is the wrestling community really just like that in a whole? Or is it those guys that's been doing it so seasoned that no chip on their shoulder? What I'm saying.
No, I definitely think there's some douchebaggeries, and I mean it's like everything. You're gonna have a Vince Neil everywhere you go. I mean they're just. Yeah. You know, Scott Hall is one of the dudes. I only got to meet him one time, but like you said, he was just treating me like a normal human.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to meet Kevin Nash a few times, and I'll argue with anybody that is the coolest dude on the planet.
Yeah.
And he ain't even trying to be cool. He's just one of those dudes you're like, man, when I think of like, if I did a movie of, let me get a cool dude, it's that guy.
Yeah.
And it's him just being himself. But, I mean, there's some dudes like that. And, but I think it's also, I mean, that's a little different in that, you know, Scott's like, man, I ain't from here, and you seem like a cool dude. And
yeah, man.
He can pick up a vibe and all that.
That's right.
But then there's that part of them, if you're really hanging out, like if there was dudes in here doing an interview or whatever, you know, and it's kind of like musicians, they got to figure out that somebody's got to vouch for you before you're one of the boys, and they really open up for it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, a musician, you go, you know, so-and-so or so-and-so told me to say hey to you while I'm here or whatever. And then it's like, oh, okay, I got you. You're in. Vibes in. I can talk freely, whatever the case may be. Yeah. So I think there's definitely that. But luckily I personally have not met many douchebags, if any. I mean, I don't remember too many.
Yeah. So you brought up Ric Flair. I watched I think it's on Peacock.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the fucking sickest documentary I've ever seen in my life. It's so amazing.
Oh,
no, he did his new one, Woo.
It's the new one, Woo. Yeah, Ric Flair. Oh, my God. Y'all got to watch that shit. It's so amazing.
Is it better than his 30 for 30?
Yeah, it's totally different.
I didn't see that, but it's like the real behind, like just uncut, like real shit. And it was so badass. Like that's a dude I'd want to sit and drink a damn beer with and just shoot the shit.
I've drank many beers with him. First of all, watch your toes.
Yeah. Was it on Melrose?
Yeah.
It was him and Vince Neil and LeJohn and Johnny David.
I'll tell you this quick story.
And Jay Leno.
And by the way, go watch the documentary. And then, shameless plug, he's got his own podcast called the Be the Man Podcast. And I had to actually fill in because it was the big snowstorm that hit just a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Conrad couldn't do it. His internet went out. So he calls me at like 8 a.m. And I'm like, hello? And he's like, hey, man, I don't have internet. And I think you're going to have to do the Ric Flair podcast. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, you're going to have to do it. I'm like, when is it? And he goes, in 45 minutes. And I'm like, bro, I'm in my undies.
Cook up questions and shit in 45
Well, that's what I said. I go, what am I talking about? And he goes, well, did you watch the documentary? And I go, I will in 45 minutes. So I'm like,
taking the clip.
As everything's going, I watched the doc. And luckily, it had literally just came out. It was literally 3 days or whatever. And so luckily, we did he only does hour podcast. We did 45 minutes on the documentary, thankfully. So had a blast. And I told him this story. He didn't remember it, but I told him the story. If you go watch that episode after you watch the documentary, because we have fun and he talks about behind the scenes. But he's met me a couple times.
Yeah.
And look, Ric Flair meets a million people.
Sure.
So the first couple times, I'm like, I'm not going to remember. He's not going to remember me, and that's fine. So the next time, it'd be like, Conrad would be like, you've met my buddy Casio before. We met at so-and-so. And be like, hey, good to see you. And I'm like, don't remember me? That's fine. We're eating dinner one day in the afternoon, and we're at this restaurant, and hardly anybody's there. So we're just up in the corner talking. And it's my first time my wife, who, if you've never seen my wife, I married up. I don't know. Once she gets her cataracts fixed, I am fucked. You know what I mean? She's into CrossFit. She's an engineer. It just should not.
I mean, and not just looks, like he married up.
Yeah, she's smart. I'm on her insurance. The whole deal. And so
call him a gold digger.
Yeah. So the first time she's with me with him.
Yeah.
So we come in and we sit down and I was pumped because it was the first time he had remembered me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Conrad fed it to him or not, but he was like, Casio. And I'm like, yeah, man, yeah. And so we're like sitting there and now we're drinking. Yeah, woo, everybody woo, woo. And so we're hammering drinks, man. And I mean, and he's telling stories. I mean, he knows how to hold court. Like you just sit there and nobody even chimes in. You're just dying laughing. And so he's sitting there, and out of nowhere, he looks over at my wife, who's been sitting with me for an hour, and he goes, hey, hon. And she goes, hey. And he goes, who are you? And she goes, well, Conrad goes, we call her Big Booty Judy. And I go, and he goes, oh, but who are you? And he goes, that's Cassio's wife. And Ric Flair goes, you're his wife? And I go, yep, that's my wife. He looks at her like she's in a hostage situation. Yeah. He's like, you're his wife? And she goes, yes. And he looked at Conrad and he goes, boy, Casio's either got a lot of money in the bank account or a fairly good sized hog on him. I can tell you that. And my wife goes, neither. All right, I can deal with that. And then the rest of the dinner, like, she get up to go to the bathroom or something, and he go, she's with you? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, I just don't get it. Love it.
That's fucking badass, though, man. You got to sit there to hear that dude tell the story.
He's incredible.
Got to be amazing.
None of them can ever be repeated anywhere, but as you can imagine, he's got
absolutely.
He's he's a ladies' man, as you can tell. So,
yeah.
His move used to be they would ask if they could see his robe when he's on the plane. And
I heard about the flight from hell.
Yeah, the flight from hell is bad. But
I heard that. I watched that.
Even if you're in the hotel lobby, if somebody said, I want to see the robe, he would show you the robe. He's going to leave, put on the robe, but have no clothes on, and come back down and say, woo!
How many of those?
And I'll tell you this. this. They say Mr. Flair is a man for a reason.
Oh, really?
And some bitch got an elbow in it. Okay. It's a baby on
Dude, I've been to Conrad's house, dude. He's got all those outfits of Ric Flair, like all over the house. It's amazing. How many's he got?
He's pared down. He had a bunch for a while, but yeah, he's pared down. I mean, that's like I said, he's wrestling
he got married
nerd.
to his daughter, right?
Yeah, he's married to Rick introduced him to her.
Oh, did
he called him and said, "I'm here with my daughter, and I want you to."
She probably's like, "My dad's stuff all over the house. It's a little much, you know. Maybe take some."
Well, they joke because she, growing up as Ric Flair's your dad, it's like she's like, "I never want to marry a wrestler."
Yeah,
and then. Now her husband has the biggest wrestling podcast and runs the conventions and does a podcast with her dad. She's like, I mean, I didn't marry a wrestler, but son of a bitch, I'm in the business. I'm stuck.
Have you seen the size rooms they do when they do a live podcast? They'll do like a House of Blues and sell out.
You were
yeah, that was the first one I went to. Was his first one was Brother Love was him back in the days, and it was Bruce Pritchard and. I don't know if you remember Brother Love. He wore the white suit like the old Southern preacher and had the red face.
Red face and everything.
Well, nobody knows that he was third in charge at WWE at the time. He was literally Vince, another guy, and him. And so he has all the behind-the-scenes stories. And so they hooked up to do the podcast, and boom, that was the first one that just exploded.
Yeah.
And so they would do the first one I went to, they did WrestleMania in New Orleans and did the House of Blues and sold it out a couple hours. Just people paying to go see them do a live podcast. So, the whole deal is, hey, I want to hear stories that we can't tell on the podcast.
Sure.
Yeah, put your phones away. Let's go. And then tell all the funny stories.
They make people put their phones in bags?
No. No, I mean, they just say, hey, don't video. We're going to tell stories. You can't. And, they're eating it. Everybody's eating it up. And it's like, I ain't the one that's going to fucking do. You see a couple people, but there ain't nobody that's. Yeah. It's just a fun time. So they just have a blast.
And that started out in his house. Like, he would just have them over to his house in his den. And
that's awesome to hear, though.
Because I remember him going, listen, man, you can't tell anybody about this. And then a year later, it's like a huge podcast. I go, couldn't tell anybody about what? The fact that, the business model that's now, owning that space now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first time I met Kevin Nash. Because it was like I said, once one guy vouches. Because at first, Conrad was like, I met a guy and they had to hit it off. I'm going to forget the first wrestler, but he's like, hey man, I got all my wrestling fans. I own a mortgage company. You can come hang out. I'll get you a hotel, but you're more than welcome to stay at my house. And, to a wrestling guy, he's like, I'm supposed to come and stay in a wrestling fan's basement? Okay. That's where you live, buddy. But once they came over to the house, saw everybody was fairly normal. Conrad's rolling out the red carpet for him. Then they have some drinks. They would start telling even more stories and bigger stories and funnier stories. Well, then once that happens, they're like, who else have you had over here? Nobody, or, at the first, nobody, or we had these two guys. Who do you want? And he'd be like, I want this guy. Yeah. I'll call him right now. Hey, man, I'm with my buddy Conrad. I'm at his basement. And they go, what? They go, just listen to me. It's a good basement. And he's like, he wants you to come over and hang out and just tell stories about. So that's how it was. It was like once one vouched, and then Flair came over. But the first time I met Nash, he came over and hung out. It was great. He he tells Conrad's like, hey, man, what do you want to drink? I'm going to roll out the red carpet for you. Any requests? And Nash is like, tells him this bottle of wine that's like $200-something a bottle. Mm-hmm. So Conrad gets 2 bottles. He's like, I'm gonna show my man, ready to go. Yeah. Because Conrad's got everything, but he ain't a wine drinker. So he goes and buys these wines, puts it up there. Nash lands, comes in. He's like, oh, you got this wine? He's like, yeah, man. He goes, that's awesome, man. And so he pours him a glass. He starts drinking it. And he's telling stories. And, I mean, like I said, he's the coolest guy in the room. Everybody's listening to every word. And, he's drinking wine like it's nothing.
His teeth are starting to turn.
Yeah, it's like an hour in, and we're down 2 bottles.
Oh, shit.
And he goes, man, can I get a drink? And Conrad's like, man, I mean, this is embarrassing, but I only bought 2 bottles of those wine. I mean, I'm not, like, it don't hurt me that it's 200-something dollars a bottle, but I figured 2 was going to be enough. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. He says, what else you got? And he's like, look around. I mean, we got a full bar. We got beer. He goes,
Pappy Van
I'll take a Miller Lite. And he goes, Miller Lite? I just got $500 in wine and you want to go to Miller Lite? He goes, well, I didn't think he was going to buy it. He goes, I never even had it before. He goes, I didn't think he was going to buy it, much less 2 bottles. He goes, it's damn good, by the way. He goes, I would drink anything you had when we got here. But he goes, everybody started, we're hanging out and everybody's leaving. And they one by one, it's like, it's getting late. We're drinking. I'm going home. I got to go. And it's like 4 a.m. And we're like, me and another guy's up. Conrad's already went to bed. And we're just hanging. And he goes, we're like, when are you flying out? And he goes, oh, yeah. Let me check. 5:45 a.m. I got the early flight in case this was a shit night. We're like, do you want to go back to your hotel room? He goes, I didn't get a room. I was just gonna figure it out. And we're like, well, I mean, as you can see, he's got like 3 or 4 guest rooms down here. You're more than welcome. He goes, no, I think I'm just gonna stay up. I mean, it's only like another hour before we gotta go to the airport, right? We're like, yeah. He goes, all right, hang on. So he gets his fanny pack because every wrestler's got a fanny pack, and he unzips it. And he goes, you guys want some gimmicks? And we're like, what do the gimmicks do? And he goes, well, it's going to get me to the plane in an hour. And I was like, I don't want any of those gimmicks. I don't know what's in that bag. I'll get another Miller Lite and hang in there for the ride.
Oh, my God. That's fucking badass, man. That's a big dude, too, man.
He's huge. He's
Jesus
huge.
Christ.
I'll send y'all a picture. We look like the number 10 standing next to each other. He's the 1, I'm the 0. I mean, he played basketball in college and the whole day. He's like 7 foot, 6'11".
He's got some great stories. But he needs to come on the podcast and tell some of the. Well, he probably can't. The pool party stories. He has like an infinity pool.
Conrad?
Yeah.
Yeah, he could tell some stories. Some of y'all would laugh at him. I don't know if we can have the cameras rolling, but well, I mean, me and him got plenty of stories. He's got tons of stories, but
you know who seems like a crazy person? You ever been around Jim Cornette?
I only met him once at a convention.
Really?
No, he's apparently a wild man.
He's out there.
He's got a great. If you're in the wrestling podcast, he has a great.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the early ones that's got a podcast going.
Yeah.
And well, let me tell you, he'll tell you exactly what he thinks.
Oh, without
and if you don't like it,
doubt.
he'll tell you to suck his dick.
Yeah.
with where you're like, he wants me to. I mean, he's mad. He's mad.
Prefer me to be mad.
Yeah, I think weird.
What? So Casio's Cut. Tell me about that podcast, man.
Well, like everybody's got a podcast. So I started one and started interviewing my friends like this guy. Comedians, musicians, just my family,
man.
Every week's a guest. I did take December off because I got slung into this ad-free shows deal where I started with Road Dogg and then I probably did like 6 other shows just in December.
Yeah.
Besides my other 2. So I took December off, but we're about to crank it back up. You can find that at mashtater.com if you want to find that or CasiosCut.com.
Our biggest nightmare of like losing the audio or video from a podcast?
Mm-hmm.
He's had that happen.
Twice.
Oh, no.
Like big names too.
Yeah, one was a wrestler, and he was like, I ain't got much time. Shout out to Mance Warner. He's one of the biggest independent wrestlers and just a great, funny guy. He's like, I ain't got much time, but let's do something. So I'm like, I usually end every episode with like 10 questions that I ask the same people. I ask the same 10 questions. So I'm like, I'll just skip to that. I'll ask you 10 questions. Let's fire it. So I got my little Zoom recorder there. Well, boom, boom, boom. And there's people around us like this. They're dying laughing. I get done. I'm like, man, that's really probably going to be my best one yet. And I look down to hit stop. And when I hit stop, I saw record. And it started recording. And I went,
shit, dude.
And I could just, one of the dudes goes, you didn't get that, did you? I can tell on your face. I'm like, nope. And I looked up and he's like, I got to go to the airport. Sorry. Now, he came on later, but it was nowhere. I was like, man, that was absolute gold.
It's hard. It's hard to, recreate shit like that.
Impossible.
Yeah.
If you got Jimbo down here, he's got the best. This is before podcast, but he did BJCC, Dave Grohl. He's backstage with the little handheld where you press record and everything. He goes, he does the whole interview, records on a deserted island, your 3 favorite and Grohl is like digesting every album and like telling you exactly he's like, man, and people started gathering around him, like hearing them do this interview. And he got through. Thanks, man. Stop, blah, blah, blah. Grohl leaves to go on stage, and he's like, "Oh, I need to listen to this before I get in my car," and he plays it back. 0 blank.
Oh no!
He don't know if he didn't ever record or something. It was absolute blank, and he's like, "Buddy, I got the greatest Dave Grohl interview ever, and nobody ever is gonna hear it ever."
That had to have sucked.
Man.
That is awful. But I mean, it's the worst podcasting nightmare.
Oh my god! Dude.
We're getting halfway through this thing,
Yeah.
and
The first few episodes we did, they would go out of the room. It's recording, and they come back in and go, maybe it's not. No, hold on. And go back around. It's definitely recording.
no, it's paranoia, man.
We're still new, man. We're just trying to beat the bushes and figure out what the fuck we're doing, at this point. And,
I don't think anybody knows it's got a podcast. You just do it, and
yeah, dude.
I mean, I have guests on that I'm like, man, this is about to smash.
Yeah.
Y'all get ready. I'm talking to the Oak Ridge Boys, baby. Oh man, they can't get no bigger. And you'll be like, okay, 13 people apparently like the Oak Ridge Boys. And then I talked to this girl. Her name is Cindy Kazaa, and she's a medium, and she goes to comedy clubs.
Size or
Yeah, no, she's
just
small in size. But, she does the old. Hey, is there a David in the crowd?
Oh, yeah.
One of those.
Yeah.
And so she came to the Huntsville Comedy Club Stand Up Live, and I was like, hey, can I interview you down there in the green room? She's like, I'd love to. So we did this interview, and I'm like, that really ain't my thing. I don't believe in it, and but I was like, again, I gotta have a guest next week, so I'm talking to the psychic lady that's coming to Stand Up Live. Hey, did it? It's one of my most viewed on YouTube. It's like you don't know. I just did it to get to the next week.
Yeah.
And didn't know if I didn't care if anybody listened to it.
Right.
Yeah, and then you have your dad on and like it hits. Like Trey was saying in here last week, like y'all were saying. The most fun, especially when you get a base of listeners, like the people that are coming back every week, that's going to be their favorites. Is just everybody just hamming it up.
Yeah,
I mean, they want an interview, but the ones they'll remember is y'all just sat there and just joked around or what. If David here or whatever, those are everybody talks about those.
Everybody's starting to kind of get a little more comfortable. Like for me, it was like you want it to be entertaining and you want to be respectful of your guest and not ask shit that they obviously don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
But then that little bit of piece of you wants to ask about the shit that they don't want to talk about.
Oh, yeah. And I tell them, I usually tell them before I get them on, I'm like, hey, man, first half of this, you've answered these questions 1 million times.
That's right.
But let's get it out. Tell them what your new song is or tell them where they can see you next. But then let's have some. It's why I started doing the 10 questions at the end.
Yeah.
And I called it the countdown. Was like, I'm going to get you out of I would be like, what's your last meal? And
break up the monotony. Of
yeah,
the
just
shit they're
something
used
you've
to.
never even thought. What's the last thing you stole and the whole deal? So you get people out of their head of,
Robot.
got it.
Robot.
How'd you get your band name? I got it, and they've gave it 100 times. I mean, but you got to do it. If you don't, people's like, why didn't you ask them how they got the band name? And you got to assume. I assume if I'm interviewing them that everybody's heard of whatever.
Sure.
If I'm doing Blackstone Cherry because they're my favorite, I think everybody loves Blackstone Cherry. And then you're like, hey, I've never heard of that band. Thanks for interviewing them. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's other people out there. I got
What planet are you on?
Dude, so I hadn't checked out your other one that you do with Road Dogg. What is the name of that?
It's called Oh You Didn't Know.
Oh, you didn't know?
Yeah, it comes out. It's everywhere you consume this
I've checked out numerous episodes of Casio's Cut, dude, and you
It's
can
fun.
tell, man, like
You see all the shit that gets sent to him? It's crazy.
what's in Casio's box? I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
thought that would die out. And dude, it's like
But
people send them and
that's
send
the
them.
coolest segment though.
You know what's
And,
funny is I did it because again I was
No
like
guests that week.
I needed to fill in time, and I was like I need to plan for these when I don't have time. So one of them I was like I'm going to play a best of the radio show. I took our clips and been like, oh, this was the best of January because like whenever I need one I can sling that in. I was like, what else can I do?
Yeah.
And I'd seen, man, I wish I could remember who it was. I just saw this guy on the internet, and that was his thing. He didn't have a podcast or anything. He just did, I got mail, and open up the mail. A lot of people do the unboxing things now where I got the video game crate. Let's see what's in it this month.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I got a P.O. box, and I was like, hey, y'all just send anything. Let's just see what happens and send a letter or I don't know, whatever y'all want to send. We'll see what it turns out to be. And
fucking cool.
And I've had.
Dude, that confetti bomb that went off.
I've had a confetti cannon blow up in my face. I get a lot of phallic symbols. I mean, I get a lot of.
Yeah.
I've got dick pillows and dick coloring books and ceramic eggplants. I got all kind of phallic symbols.
Yeah.
I got somebody. The craziest was I think it was the second one because I think once like we got one or two under our belt, like even the listeners was like, oh, I can literally send anything because I don't open it until we're recording because I just want to be surprised and like open it, which is why the confetti cannon, which I think was dick glitter too, a lot of penises. They sent, and this one was crazy because I save it till I need it. Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna pile up these boxes, and then when I need an episode, I'll open them. So I think I had this one box for like, I don't know, 6 weeks. I got it. I don't know how long it was in my P.O. box, maybe a week or so. Checked it, brought it home, get ready to record. So finally, it was like 6 weeks. We needed it. So it was just like a bigger box. So I was like, I'm going to keep that to the end just in case. And we're like opening them. And it's me and my wife and another buddy, Doug Markham. Shout out to Doug. He's a wrestling referee, but he was there with us that episode. And I cut it open. Yeah. And as soon as I started cutting it open, I heard... And I was like,
fucking way.
Man, did this box make noise? And we're live. I'm like, whoa, I think this box, man. They're like, no, I didn't. You're whatever. And so I give it to my wife. She's like, I'll give it to me. And so she cuts it up and she goes, oh my gosh. And I'm like, what? And then I heard this weird noise, and they'd sent 2 Madagascar hissing cockroaches.
Oh,
they'd been in that box for like 2 months, and the address was from overseas. So, and I've got these 2, and I'm like, "What was that noise?" And she's like, "She put my wife as a maniac." I mean, this is why she's with me.
Yeah. By the way,
nobody else
pets.
would take her.
Those things became pets. They didn't just throw.
Yeah, we have lizards and snakes, and
but these roaches became.
She puts her hand in. I'm like, it's not really a roach, and she pulls it out, and it crawls up on her thing. I mean, it's huge. It's gigantic, and I'm like. Oh my God. Do not get that thing near me. And about that time, she dropped it right in the middle of our studio. And I feel it hit my foot. Oh, and I mean, God. I am in little girl mode. Get off me! Just burn down his whole house. I'm like, where's a gun? I am shooting everything in here.
Little girl mode.
Yeah, she picked it up. It's fine. I'm like, you don't know what it is. Those can be poisonous. You don't know. It was 2 of them, and she kept them as pets. We had them like a year till they died.
They lasted a year.
Yeah, and I don't know.
They're apparently resilient if they were in the box.
Yeah, they were in a box with nothing. You know what else was in the box with them? Like 3 pieces of straw and a lot of roach shit. That was all that was in there. I was like, man, this is wild.
And we been sitting there for weeks before you opened?
2 months.
2 months?
2 months.
Where you been?
From overseas, so I don't know when they boxed them up either. I'm like,
overseas?
Yeah, did you listen to the podcast?
What? Dude, they had to come.
I thought it was a good story. Yeah. I mean, he passed out. But
It got a little long in the middle.
Yeah.
Sorry, you've seen it before. The rest of them assholes.
Those things had to come through customs and everything.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Like, there's no telling how long they were in there.
So what he's saying is we need to think about something, guys, together.
Get the X5 P.O. box.
Yeah.
Let's just hold on one
Dude, this son of a bitch
because I tell everybody, send me, you got a band or whatever, send me that shirt. I'll wear it on the podcast. I love free shirts. I've sent food. They've sent food for me to try, hot chips and snack cake.
He'll fly to South Africa and get like giraffe shit.
7582.
No,
I'm just send everything there.
Yeah.
What is your P.O. box?
Yeah.
Hang on, I got to get in podcast mode. Casio's Cut, P.O. Box 19065, Huntsville, Alabama 35804.
Love
Put that on
P.O.
the
Box 19065, Huntsville, Alabama 35804. Just do Casio's Cut.
Dustin, put that on the screen so
Maybe, will you mail me an X5 T-shirt?
I will. Well, yes, absolutely. I got my wife. We're actually doing. My wife does like all the screen printing, or not screen, DTG, direct to garment stuff, and all that stuff. So I've got her doing us some badass jogging, like velvet joggers. Let's go. All kinds of shit. So we're about to be rocking.
Hey, everybody got pumped.
Hey, wait, is your hoodie?
Yeah, we're
is your
jogging pants.
Is your fuck yeah.
I was like, God damn it, now I got to start jogging.
Bert.
Mine are going to be sitting pants. I'm going to be honest.
Sitting pants. Let Casio fill your hoodie
Easy.
real quick.
No.
You got
he's got one off.
Let's keep it straight.
Feel the inside of that thing.
That's good. That's a good hood.
Hey, look.
It's a good hood right there.
So man, imagine your sitting pants.
Sitting pants.
They're called butter pants, actually, for real.
Butter pants.
Yeah, they're going to be banging. Can't wait.
Yeah, everything about these pants are big.
Potato pants when I put them
Potato
on.
pants, yeah. That looks like a 10 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound sack.
Hey, before we get out of here, why don't
Yeah.
you tell your story about what you did to Brian Vaughn a few years ago?
Oh, my
Oh,
I
my
wonder
God.
if he even remembers this.
You pulled
So-
a story on Brian Vaughn?
So, matter of fact, I know this was 2011. This was the week.
I know you are thinking that's Ruben Studdard. It's
Yeah,
Brian.
It's not.
Mr. 205.
I'm sorry
We
for
should have announced it
2004.
before Stutter.
2004.
Oh, God.
And this is Clay Aiken. He's let him through.
He's let himself go over the years.
Plug gave me this fucking mic.
He's Clay Aiken, ACHI, and he's Aiken. He's Aiken.
So after the tornadoes hit in 2011, I called David.
I'm going to take a drink of water.
Yeah.
You know, the massive tornado that destroyed half of Alabama. Yeah, last episode you were giving a death update on everybody. Now you're giving you remember the tornadoes when multiple people were affected?
So anyway, let me just skip right past all that. So anyway, so me and David and some other people, we were in Gunnersville, and Brian was at work, which we obviously wasn't. It was on a weekday.
That's all this boy does is work.
So look,
Yeah, he's never not at work.
and we were right down the road from his house. And I said, God, wouldn't it be funny to prank call him? Because there was a lot of cleanup and shit going on. I said, I guess now saying it's kind of a dick move, right? But saying it out loud. Anyway, so I said, look,
Wait, this is you're talking to the guy that sent nude pics to somebody's mom.
yes.
You're all right.
Okay.
Okay.
So all this cleanup's going on, all this stuff, and there's construction workers everywhere. And I said, let's prank call Brian and pretend, let's fuck with him. So I use this horrible redneck voice. I said, hey, is this Brian Vaughn? And he goes, it is. He's being Mr. LinkedIn on the phone. and he goes, it is. And David, we rode by his house, and I wrote his address. I said, hey, man, I said, you live here at blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say the address, which I don't remember it, but he goes, yeah. He said, I do. He said, is everything okay? I said, well, it will be. I said, you've got a natural gas leak coming out of your house, out of your meter. And look, man, I'm just going to have to go on in there. Are you home? He goes, no. I said, well, look, I can't wait. I got to go on in your house. I said, I've got to go in here and move everything out into your front yard because it's contaminated with gas. He goes, what do you mean? I said, and so
I just hear his
Say
voice.
it, baby. He said, what do you mean?
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I said, that's exactly what he said. I said, well, how quick can you get here? He goes, it would be like 45. I said, well, I can't wait. I'm going in right now. And he goes, no, wait a second. I said, we can't. And
It's life or death.
And David had told me some key points. He said, man, brag on this rifle he just got or golf clubs or something. And so I'm in there. I was like, oh, hey, I like
Fishing rods.
Yeah, fishing rods. That's what it was.
Yeah.
He goes, damn, is this your fishing rods? I like these rods right here. And it set into him.
Yeah,
That I was in his house. And he goes, listen, man, sir, I need to, can you please get, he said, look, we're going to put all this in a pile in your front yard. We're going to cover it with a tarp. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. He said, we got to get it out here. He said, I said, I'm going to have to start ripping the floor up in your house to find this gas leak. And he's wigging the fuck
I'm about
out.
to lose it. I'm looking at the phone at this point like, what is going on? I'm about to go crazy.
Are you not in the car yet?
I don't know if I can really move.
You know this guy don't leave work for nothing, and this is proof. Not even this story can get Brian to be like, I think I'm sick. I gotta go. Like,
I hung up on Leno's producer, and you're still going, what?
So it went on and on for 3 or 4 minutes to the point. I'm like, listen, man, you got any Ziploc bags? I'm gonna start putting you toothbrushes and your toiletries in your Ziploc bags that way it don't get dirty and all this stuff. I was going into extreme fucking detail. He's having a complete meltdown on the phone.
Lost it.
dude, that's
Did you
just
ever
big-
think it was a prank, baby?
I didn't know because I knew a tree had fell on the gas line and it was
It
like
really
spewing.
did.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I'm like, what?
So that really happened in his neighborhood.
So there was a few moments where, like,
Yeah.
I'm allowed to prank golf.
Yeah, I was in the middle of
wait,
truth
wait.
and lies. Somebody's trying to kill me. I was like, I was rubbing my chest. I'm sure I was going, I didn't know.
He was being so polite.
I mean, I was thinking to go tell my boss, like, I may need to go to the house.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I do need to go home for just a minute.
Hey, you're probably like, hey, am I crazy? Can workers just enter a house? How does he have a key? But he's naming shit that I've got in my house. I know he's in it.
Yeah.
And I know I locked that bitch.
Complimenting his fishing rods.
Yeah, I'm like, did he just pull a kick dough in my house and just bust on the end and make himself at home?
There's other people in the background in the truck. I'm like, hey, go ahead and get that recliner out, get that bed out, get all this stuff, empty everything out of the cabinets, and he's fucking wet. And they're like, okay, find a garbage bag. I said, Brian, you got any garbage bags in here? You know, and he's losing it. Oh my God.
He's calling him by his name like
That was
Brian. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Damn.
Yeah. We're on first name basis.
I know.
And I said, now Brian, look, now this door, we had to kick this door in. It's ruined. I said, you got insurance, you got home insurance, right? And he goes, yeah. I said, well, you need to call them. Look, we got to tear this floor up. We've got to get everything out of here. We're gonna put it in your front yard, cover it
It's
up.
a race against time.
Oh my God! I can hear him going. I can be there. I can be there in 30 minutes. We're in here now, and we're starting. We'll see you when you get here. And look, we hung up and waited probably 5 minutes.
Dude, I'm telling you,
That's too long.
I did. I said, Charlie, you got to call him back right now, man. This man.
I said, no, let's give it a little time. Because we had just had Mexican food. I'd ate too damn much.
I gotta let that settle down.
We just had Mexican food.
Wait 5. I just ate some Mexican.
I got a little.
I'm calling somebody back. I just ate Mexican.
That's anything to
That's all we got him is one
I
prank.
got a little bit of IBS, so I had to shit. So I went back in the restaurant and shit because we were doing all this from the parking lot of the Mexican restaurant. I went back in there and shit, come back and said, all right, we can call him. And I figured David was probably texting him by then, hey, man, this is a fucking joke. But he didn't.
I totally forgot about that.
That was a rough day.
Oh, he's still.
And in my head, I was thinking, they make pods. Could they not get a pod and put my stuff in it? Yeah. They just throw it in the yard with a tarp. I mean, I'm just saying. Some crackheads going to come out and people like, hey, look at here.
Fishing gear's all out.
They got some free stuff on the side of the road. Free
That damn
rifles.
tarp down, dude. Don't we let it blow off?
Yeah, I was just like, what is going on?
At one point, towards the end of the call, I think he started getting a little aggravated. I said, well, listen now, don't be getting smart with me. I'm trying to do you a favor.
Yes, I'm trying to help you, and here you are getting mad at me. I'm like, dude.
I complimented your goddamn fishing rods now.
At least I didn't take you duck at fishing poles, buddy.
What'd you do when they called back?
I don't know. I don't know if I was passed out and didn't get to get the phone or.
No, you got the
Did I
phone,
get it?
and it was the most genuine sigh of relief I've ever heard in my life when we told him it was a joke.
Wasn't even mad, just happy.
No, he was extremely happy
Yeah,
about
it
it.
was just a relief, a sigh of
But
relief.
I do remember the end. I said, well, hey, there really is a tree right here on this gas line in your neighborhood. This was a joke, but you really got a problem going on.
Yeah, I mean, you could hear it like, you could hear it like coming out.
Yeah, it really was.
So that's why I was thinking, well, this got to be right because I know a tree is falling.
Oh,
I
we
was trying to
sold it.
rationalize everything you were doing. I said, but that's not right. Why did he kick my door in? Why is he
I
trying
heard where the hiss is coming from. It wasn't my kitchen.
Yeah, I was like, wait a
Sure.
minute. How does he know what my fishing rods look
I'm
like?
asking him where stuff is. Like, where's your Ziploc bag? Where's your garbage bags? Like, we need this, all this stuff. And he goes, you could tell he's not comfortable.
Well, nobody would be. Could you imagine some motherfucker going through your shit?
I was hurt bad.
I'd be like, where's my cash sitting? Like all that kind of stuff. Like, where's my secret stash of cash?
Hey, will you
Yeah,
get
it's
my
like-
gun ready? Because I'm going to kill myself.
Gun loaded.
You
Seriously.
shoot yourself in the foot?
Yeah.
Call the cops?
Oh, my God.
Baby.
Ooh, man, I don't think I've had a rougher day. I really don't.
Hey,
Did
you
he
was a
cuss you
trooper.
out? Did he cuss you?
No, he don't
didn't.
cuss nobody.
He's such a
That's why I
sweetheart.
wanted to see how I was like, man, if you made BV cuss.
Yeah.
No.
I have my moments, but I'm usually pretty even keeled. It takes a lot to flip that switch.
What'd
but
you
when
call
it
it?
does,
Mother trucker?
Yeah. You get real steam.
eater.
No, Jim Williker's guy.
Dude,
No, man, he was sweet as can be, understanding. He, like I said, he did start to get a little. Now, hold on, now, don't be moving. I said, now listen, I'm in here doing you a damn favor. Don't get smart with me.
I was like, this dude right here. I was like, wait a minute. Ooh,
I
man.
remember seeing you like 3 weeks later at Iron Horse, and you're like, man, you got me good.
I was like, you ain't right. But I'm telling you, I was hurt, and I don't know how to describe what that feeling was. It's like when you fixing to go skydiving for the first time. Yeah, panic attack. I feel like I was fixing to go skydiving without a parachute. That's what I felt like.
Man.
And I was like, oh my goodness. I said, wait till I see him.
yeah.
But then I probably was like, man, you crazy, you wild.
Yeah. You got me real upset. Can you tell?
That was like, wait till I see you. I'm going to laugh.
I'm gonna give you a big
Really
hug.
loud.
I'm going to laugh. Really loud.
Dude, the first time
Do
I...
you need him to tell the story again?
No, I was listening to all of it.
I'm up now. Can you say it one more
See
time?
where you checked out.
Dude, the first time I met Brian was at Sammy T's in Huntsville, and I thought, this is so racist.
All right, man, it's been a good pod.
Hey, everybody,
Hey, it's been nice.
Edit me out of this pod.
Hey, we'll see you next week. Hey, this has been X5. See y'all next week. No, we saw
Yeah.
he was watching us play, and we knew 17th Floor was playing the next night.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we got it in our heads that Brian, like he was with Jason. You were with Jason and a couple other white
my buddy
guys, and I was
Bobby
like,
thing.
guys, he's with 17th Floor. So when we get done, y'all come down. Y'all remember the band 17th Floor?
For people that don't know, tell
Yeah,
them 17th.
17th Floor was a hip hop cover band that used to
They were
just own the circuit. They
badass,
were
yeah.
unbelievable.
They're great.
But I'd never seen any of them. I just heard they're badass, and I was like, "There's a black guy front row. Where in the hell I yanked it out of thin air that he was with 17th Floor?" But we came down off the stage and gave him a ton because it's like another band on the circuit. We want to meet him. That we've heard so much about him, and then quickly he started talking. And when you hear Brian talk, you're like, "Oh, he's not from Chicago."
But he did get up and sing.
Yeah, he did get up and sing with us for years.
I think that's the first time I actually got up to sing with y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bikini contest happening.
No way, not at one of our shows.
And I was like,
We probably told him not to do it.
Right.
so it was the best of both worlds that night. I was like, bikinis, music, hey.
There you
I don't
go.
remember it being that full by the time we played.
have wings.
Did they have
They had wings.
Yeah, I was playing.
Badass Buffalo Wild Wings, wasn't it?
Front row of our fans. You better be serving food of some sort. We're gonna get them gals in the room.
All wings, baby.
Have you ever been in Gunnersville with Brian and like a public event and walked around with him? It is unbelievable. You
Really?
think me and you get
Is that where he
nervous.
chalks up his
Dude,
numbers?
he owns Gunnersville. That's what I'm saying as a
Mayor.
joke. If he ever ran for mayor, it would be a slam dunk. He can't walk into a restaurant in that town. He can't walk into anywhere where people are just like throwing rose petals in front of him, man. It's the most craziest shit you've ever seen in your life. That boat race that comes through there once a year.
Hydrofest.
Dude, we went down there to Hydrofest, and I'm telling you, It was exhausting walking around with this son of a bitch. Like you didn't get any one-on-one time with him. You just shared him with the whole town everywhere you went.
Everybody loves
Hey man, I guess I hung out with him all day, and I was like, I guess I'll catch up with you at the next show because this ain't the place to hang out with you.
They sign your forehead. Hey, it's good to
Yeah.
meet you.
I'm gonna wash that forehead for at least a week.
I remember one time he came. I don't know why. Why did y'all dress up like Poison? What was the reason?
Oh, it was
Tuesday.
Lionel. Tuesday.
That's what I do on Tuesday.
Might as well. Got this old wig sitting in the closet.
He and my brother and a bunch of people dressed up like.
I think is that the show where?
Oh no! I remember why.
Lionel and Brett Michaels,
They had
right?
a picture booth where you could get your picture taken.
Right. Yes.
And so they dressed up like. He dressed up like Brett Michaels. And like Mark A.D. called you Black Michaels.
Yeah, Black Michaels. Yeah.
He got to meet Brett Michaels, and we're like, Brett Michaels, meet Black Michaels.
It's like,
Oh, he met Brett Michaels
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Super nice. Guy.
as Brett Michaels.
As Black Michaels. That's
Yeah.
how we introduced him. We didn't say as
Black
Brian
Michaels.
Michaels.
It's like, you know how you do a squeal thing and a dog goes to a dog and it does his head? That's how Brett was like, huh, that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of those. Am I supposed to laugh? Is
Yeah, I know. That's what he said.
Oh, thanks.
He's too nice of a guy to give you a good chuckle. He was just like,
It would have been funny if he was like, you know who I look like?
people tell me I
know
look
what
just
you're
like
thinking.
you.
I'm Australian.
I know what you
I'm glad you said scanning. I thought you were going Tanner or something.
But in that spray tan,
That's a fucking accent, dude.
Dude, Brian went everywhere with us on the road in Line of Days, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it either because he never missed a day of work. We used to joke with him. We got a big tour. We're like, why don't you just come with us? Because we're not exaggerating. The guy had maybe 5 weeks of sick pay stacked up over the years because he never called in sick. He was just a work. Still a worker to this day. He should own part of Cadence Bank. But he always managed to get off and go to a lot of shows with us, and he'd always be back at work Monday morning. Like every other weekend, we'd be like, "You don't want to come to Saturday night show? Gotta work, man. I can't do it Saturday.
Yeah.
Gotta work Saturday." The guy never would call in.
Do you remember he meal prepped?
oh
yeah,
yeah, I did.
That was
Brought him
early
the
on,
bus
like
that time.
before, everybody meal preps now. But
yeah.
we'd be like, man, we gotta go to Valdosta, and then we're gonna swing back through Atlanta. And he'd come in with like 7 stacks of grilled chicken.
That's a true story.
Yeah, with chicken and rice.
That's it. I bet I worked for y'all for at least 15 years, at least, if not longer.
Yeah.
I just started coming to shows. I came to that 70T show the first time, so I started coming to all their shows, and eventually I just started pushing stuff to the bus. I don't know if I asked them or not, but and then finally I said, I think I need to go with y'all on the road, and they was like, okay, you seem cool enough. Okay. And so it just went from there. And
Like the guy that washes the windows at the.
Yeah, really had put me at the truck stop. But yeah, it was so many cool experiences I got to witness and experience traveling around with them. And that was the greatest. I tell people all the time, man, I got to see so many cool things and just a lot of cool stuff.
Are you talking about Valdosta, Georgia?
No,
You're talking about Bon Jovi stuff. You got to meet Father Bob.
Now that was a bucket list situation for me. I was like, whoa, this is great. Hog heaven.
What song did Brian used to always sing?
Wanted.
A bunch.
Wanted dead or
That's the Bon Jovi song.
And then
I do a little
Papa Roach.
Yeah, we did Papa Roach with
I feel
us.
like I
Rage.
need it right now.
I mean, I feel like you should just break it
Remember
out.
Ryan?
hey,
What are we doing?
He's about to play. You want to sing a little Wanted?
Oh, all right, I can do that.
he said,
That's what Brian's in the crew. He's like, I'll sing it. I mean,
I can sing my way out of a bar fight. That's one thing I can do.
Hey, I remember when we was on Shiprock, they were performing or whatever, and they introduced me as I forget his name, but
Ruben?
lead singer of Living Color.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Man, I was signing stuff.
We played on the
It's
fact
ridiculous.
that people would be like, he's black, he's got to be him. I was like,
So who cares? He's about 200 pounds overweight, boy.
yeah, he's an 80s guy. Look, that's definitely him.
Yeah, they didn't care. I was signing people's blue jean jacket, messing people.
The good thing about him, no matter who,
blue jean jackets.
whoever we,
I mean, I was like, man, these people really think I was scratching my head. I was like, whatever. I always told David, I said, you know what? I never break character.
He does it. He does it. That's a good thing. You can say he's anybody, and he's not going to be like, I'm not really.
He's supposed to be
Just
living
don't
color.
talk.
Yeah,
You get that
that's what I'm
accent.
saying. They're like, we're gonna bring out a living color, and the pool deck's going wild, and he's like, "Call the person down."
What you talking about, Willis?
Everybody's rocking. Man, please meet you, man. We're from Chicago.
Hell yeah.
Then another time we were at. This is when City Stages was pretty big and was on the Miller Lite stage.
Shout out City Stage.
Yep, and they introduced me as Ruben Studdard, and I swear the Birmingham News was chasing me, and they were trying to do interviews, and I was running. I was like,
Chipping on
oh
the
no.
stick. Going,
Yeah, and this is when Ruben was popular. So, Ruben was, popular then. And I said, man, I am not getting sued by Ruben Studdard. I said, I'm going
like
on the
Ruben
bus.
would have sent a cease and desist.
Hey, buddy, you got to calm it down. I'm kind of a big deal. Calm down, but I was like, oh my God, all these people are chasing me. I got to go. I was running.
David loves to put you on the spot like that.
What is the purpose of getting Bert up and saying it's Bert Wallace? Like, say this guy plays guitar for Nickelback. Nobody knows what their guitar player
And
looks
they'll
like.
believe it.
So we would do that. We'd say, this is a guitar player for Candlebox, or this is a guitar player for a band that you're like, no, you know is popular, but who do
Nobody
they look
knows
like?
their members.
Right.
They don't know.
I have a buddy right now who, every time we go to the bar, introduces himself as the drummer for Foghat. And I go, oh yeah, because you're like, who knows what anybody in Foghat looks like?
He did
I'm
that to us that
drummer,
night.
maybe a little band you heard of Foghat. And like, they're like, all right, it's like,
Slow
can I
ride.
do some air guitar? And they're like, all right, cool, all right.
Hell yeah,
He did that
sound
to us
like
at
him.
Sky Bar.
I
Yeah,
did.
we're
Called us the
Nickelback's managers.
managers, and we're standing on the side of like the little fucking balcony thing right there.
it's
Everybody
packed.
just turns and looks at us. We're like,
Oh, I was
what the
there,
fuck?
yeah.
You can't explain anything. You're sitting here without a mic.
Right, yeah, you can't defend yourself. You can't say no.
What do you do?
They're all hand gestures.
But we had people
No.
coming up to us, literally like asking us,
Man,
you guys really coming here? I'm like, yeah, we're on our
There you go. Never break character, man.
One of them come up, and the steps was right there, and they come up and asked Matt that, and I went, oop. I just walked down the steps. I was like, I ain't getting in on that one.
I just
slipped
told him, I
off.
said, yeah, I said, we're thinking about, bringing them in here. I think that'd be good.
Nice,
Oh, yeah.
nice addition to the roster.
Most of those kids probably like, who? Nickel? Who the fuck is that?
Who was that? I think my dad listened to them back in the day or something.
Dad rock.
It's about that time, boys.
Well,
Yeah.
we're starving to death, so we have to end this podcast.
Some of us got to pee.
Brian and Cassidy and Casio. Yeah. So seriously, dude, thank you for coming in, Casio.
Thank you for having me. This is fun, man.
Nothing but
Man.
class,
I forgot we were
funny as
recording.
hell. Let's do something different. If Casio will do it for us this episode,
What?
instead of us taking it out,
Brian's gonna sing.
let's let
They're like, click. Turn that off.
Come on, do it, Brian. Give us just a hint. Look,
What you wanna do?
Hold on, he's about to play it. He's about to play
which,
some.
which one you want to sing?
Wanted.
Yeah, wanted, because it's going to
You know
like.
it?
You know that.
Fuck, I
I
honest to God don't remember it. I honest to God don't remember it.
All right, how you remind me? What else, Brian? VV, what you got?
Oh, I got it. Friends in Low Places. Let's
Oh,
go.
yeah. He said, oh,
Well,
my
I don't know
God.
that one.
You're out of your mind. You don't know that one.
It's probably G, C, and D.
I tell you what. How about?
Hoogie Boogie Land?
Yeah.
Man, if we can find one they land on, this is gonna be epic.
Yeah, I know. Or this is
What?
about to be the shittiest closing we've ever done on a show.
Oh, my God. It might be something.
Same closing time.
This thing's completely out of tune.
Wake
See,
in
what else
the
do-
morning and I'll step
And I don't know the words of the song, actually.
Hey,
491. He said it don't matter.
Just make something up.
What's going on?
Don't break character.
Call it
Brian,
What's
you
Up.
ready?
That's the name of the song.
Ready?
Oh, yeah, what's that, sir?
25 years and my life is still. There you go.
Trying to get up that great big hill of hope.
Yeah. Well, whatever that means.
There you go.
Hey, with that.
What's in my head?
Actually, what I was actually going to ask,
Yeah.
that was amazing. Would you take us out, but with the strip club doorman voice?
Oh my God!
Please do me that favor. Just say, thanks for watching. Love you guys. X5.
Last chance, last dance. Get the keys ready. Mercedes is driving on the stage now, fellas. Last call for alcohol, yo.
Oh, man, you can't.
Thank you guys
I really
for
do have to
watching.
pee.
Love you guys. We're out.
You get away with